getting into that message in just a minute. Come on, yep. We're going to be getting to that, talking about Simply Christmas in just a minute. Last week, I think it was a roasted chestnut on my sweater. Many people were emailing me, calling me what was on your sweater, and this morning I actually found a picture of a roasted chestnut. I think that's what it was. So just to put everyone's mind at ease, and yeah, this is today's beautiful sweater. It's amazing how much time and energy people put into making sweaters ugly, and how much people find them. I had a lot of you send me ideas. I've already got all my ugly sweaters, but if you want to get another one for me, I'm a double X, okay? So that's this is my lead into, because next Sunday we're going to be having what we're calling just Generosity Sunday. Where we know that we're asking everyone to just spend some time praying and asking God, how do you want me to be generous to end this year? That we're going to be generous with everyone else as we head into the holiday season, but God, how do you want me to be generous? How can I partner with you to continue to change this community that God loves so much in just bold and extravagant ways? And we're going to do that. And then on the following Sunday, we're going to celebrate. We're just going to celebrate what God has done in our lives, what God is doing in our community. And really, again, you need to understand as a church how many lives you are changing. Last Sunday we had the Christmas shop hop here, and it was, I'm sure it impacted many people in this community. It impacts me every time that we get to be generous. When we get to be a part of what God is doing, to sit and talk with people that are just grateful and thankful for what you are doing, for how you're partnering with God. There was one person that said, I'm so thankful for you, because every other place that I go, they want to know how much I make. And I make just enough that won't allow me to go anywhere else. And you guys were able to love me, and I'm grateful. Because I would not be able to get kids Christmas presents and still pay all my bills, pay my student loans, pay the different things that she has going on in her life. And as I talked with her, it wasn't that she was just being frivolous, just spending money every way. It was things like student loans. It was things like medical bills that she had to pay. And again, you got to be a part of that. You got to do that. So I thank you guys. I thank you for listening to God and being generous and loving the people in this community. We're going to get to, and it's not this week, is it? It's the next week, I think, when we have another food truck. And that's just another way that we get to be generous. And I love how this year we've decided to not only give food, but we're going to be able to give out different hygiene products, because a lot of people can't get that in different ways. Different agencies don't give that out. And so we're going to ask you to bring different hygiene products that we can give out to the people in this community as well, to love on them extravagantly, generously, the way that God has loved us. So again, thank you. You're doing it. You're being the church that God really talked about and that it came to be about. So again, I just want to keep on saying thank you. I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful to be a part of such an incredible church like this, to be working with people like you that are seeing needs and meeting them. So I'm going to stop saying thank you, but just keep on hearing it ring through your head. So, okay, we're going to get into the Word. We begin the same way every week here at Hope. We take a Bible, either the ones that you brought from home, you can see what they're doing. So if you don't have a Bible, quick grab one, or your phone or your tablet, or do an air hold up, because this is what we say. This is the Word of God. And I believe what it says is true. And because these are, and just pause for a moment when I say this, because these are the words of God, the words that speak and give us life, the words that come off these pages and give us blessing, the words that literally heal, the words that give us hope, the words that change not only your circumstances, but even more than that. And this is where I just want us to give you a heads up, because I'm excited. The words that not only will change your circumstances, but will change you. Anyone grateful for that? Okay, gosh. You know what? I'm just giving you a heads up because again, with what it says in the Bible, the book that we just said is true. It says that prior to the Word becoming flesh and dwelling among us, before you actually allow these words to change the way that you think and act, that before that ever happened, that we were destined to death. We were destined to be separated from Christ eternally. But because of what God has done, because of what He's given us, because of what the words of God say, it says that you now have life and you have life abundantly. And this is what thank you. Okay, you're getting it. You're getting it because there are so many times where we are so reserved in how we look at it, but I think it's possible because we forget what we deserve. And we miss what we've been given, and I haven't even gotten my message yet, so we need to get going. But I need to tell you that there are times when I give my kids a Christmas present, and they think that this is what they deserve. You know, but my kids haven't done anything. They don't deserve that. I want to give it to them because they're my kids, because I love them. Probably what they deserve is a lump of coal, if we're being honest. My grandma used to give me a lump of coal every Christmas. And then she'd say, that's not what you're going to really get, but just wanted to make sure you knew what you could get. And this is what we could get, but because of what Christ did, we get this. This is the words. These are the words that we celebrate. These are the words that we open and we study because we want them to begin to change us. That it says that they will change the way that we think and act. That we begin with our thoughts, and then when we look at this, we begin to see how it changes in our actions. These words, I'm telling you, these words are pretty important words. Okay, tap 3 people and say, hey, listen up, these words are important. Go ahead, tap them. Tap them lovingly. Be loving, be nice. But this is what I believe about these words too. Because not only are these words gonna change the circumstances and change you, but this is what I believe. These words aren't words that are filling some history book that you learn and read about the past. These words are meant to inform us better of how to live now. That they will speak into whatever circumstance, whatever situation you're facing. I don't know what you're facing today, but I know these words are relevant. I know these words are true. I know these words will impact where you're at right now. So no matter what it is, you've got to open these. These are powerful words. They will give you hope no matter whatever you are facing. So let me tell you, you got to know where to open this book to be able to see where we're going to look at today. We're going to be looking in the New Testament. We're going to be looking at Matthew in particular. It starts in the book of Matthew, and it goes Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. These are the Gospels, the things that tell the story of how Jesus lived. And so we're going to be spending a lot of time in the book of Matthew, especially chapter 2. And then at the end, we're going to jump into the book of Mark. So you can just kind of flip back a couple pages, mark that so that you're ready to go when we get there. But we're looking at Matthew and Mark. And in Matthew chapter 2, starting in verse 1, this is what it says. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi, or we know most of the time we talk about the wise men, the wise guys, they came from the east to Jerusalem. That they came to Jerusalem because this is where the kings live. This is where the king was supposed to be. And they asked, where is the one who was born King of the Jews? We saw this star when it rose and had come to worship him. We're in this series, as I said, we're in this series titled Simply Christmas. And there are times where we get sick and tired of all the busyness and all the rush of the Christmas season, and we want to just simplify all that we're doing. But this is the problem, because in our attempts to simplify, what we do is we miss out on what it's all about. Even though we try and we try so hard to make it simple, we begin to look in the wrong places. And we're looking for the wrong things. We think things like this. I'm going to make it right this Christmas. I'm going to do it right. We're not going to get caught up in all the decorations. I'm sorry. I saw some of your posts of all your decorations outside. Some of you guys have been going a little bit over the top. It's okay. We'll get to that in a minute. But I'm going to make it right this Christmas. I'm not going to get caught up in the decorations. I'm not going to get caught up in all the hustle and bustle and the commercialism. I'm going to make it simple. I'm going to fix everyone else's problems. by getting it right. And that in itself, that statement in itself, it's a pretty profound statement of what you're thinking about yourself, that everyone's looking at what you do and how you celebrate Christmas and what you do or don't put up, and that that you yourself can reclaim Christmas all by itself. You see, that's part of the problem of what we're doing. That's part of the problem of what's happening. Because in our attempts to make Christmas simple, we take the focus off of what's really important. We put it on ourselves instead of keeping the focus about Christ and Christ alone. We have tried intentionally to strip everything off of this platform because there are so many times where we get caught up in, and wow, that's so beautiful, that big tree. But we try and strip it all away. But even in our attempts to strip it all away, we begin to make it about us. And if you don't see what it's pointing towards, that it's got to be about Christ and not about us. And when we make it about us and we celebrate, I'm just going to make it simple, we begin to have judgment in our minds and in our thoughts about those that are being a bit more extravagant. We think, oh, God, I'm so glad I'm not like them. And all that they're doing, they've missed what it's all about. We see people that are driving down the highway with their Christmas tree strapped on top of their car. And God, thank you that I'm not like them. And we say that while we're clutching our Charlie Brown Christmas tree, thinking that we're doing it all right, even though maybe we've spent just as much on this pathetic tree as they spent on theirs. We begin to have this judgment in our hearts, and what we are doing is exactly what we're supposed to be fighting against. We're making it about us instead of making it simply about Christ, making it simply about Jesus. Christmas isn't supposed to be just simple. It's simply supposed to be about Jesus. This is what it's supposed to be all about. And listen, I'm not just going to pick on the people that are stripping everything away, trying to make Christmas simple. There are some of you that I know love Christmas. I mean, you know if I'm talking about you, right? I'm just, I keep on pointing at you. I love your house. It's beautiful. I've seen your houses, all of you guys. You've decorated it so well. And some of you, though, you wear Christmas sweaters like this year-round. That's a problem. Some of you are singing Christmas songs year-round. Some of you are running into people and handing them candy canes, and you're handing out candy canes for Halloween. I mean, I'm just telling you that there are some that think that we have to have all of this stuff for it to feel like Christmas. And listen, I love Christmas. I mean, you know I love Christmas, and I love all the things that come with Christmas, a Christmas tree, the singing, the Christmas sweaters, the snow. Listen, I'm the one that bought a snow machine a couple Christmases ago for this church because Christmas Eve didn't feel like Christmas if we didn't have snow, and I think we're going to need it again this year. But we think that we have to have all these things, the tinsel and the lights and the songs and everything before we can ever feel like it's Christmas. But what we're searching for is a feeling. We're not searching for the truth. And what we're doing if we're just trying to find these things and let it be about the feelings, we're doing the exact same thing that the wise men did. The exact same thing that they were doing in this story, because they had been preparing for the king to come for quite a long time. They had all their decorations up. They were actively looking for this king. This was their job. They took it serious. There were so many people back then that had given up. They weren't looking for the king, the Messiah, any longer. They had stopped looking. They had felt like God had given up on them. If you look in your Bibles, if you're in Matthew right now, if you look just back to the book right before that, there's a 400-year gap in between the Old Testament, when God was still speaking to them, and the prophets, and the New Testament. And so for many of them, they felt like God had given up on them, so they're going to give up on God. They're going to stop looking, but not the Magi. Not the wise men in this story. They were still actively looking for God. They were just looking in the wrong places. They were looking for the wrong things. And it really was, again, in the story, it really was a simple mistake that I think all of us would have made. They went to Jerusalem. Jerusalem where the kings lived. Jerusalem where the king was supposed to be. They went to the palace, the house for the king. They went to the places that other people would say, man, you're doing all the right things. You're doing everything that you should be doing, but the king wasn't there. And needless to say, in the story, when you read through the story, Herod gets a little upset. Could you imagine you were the king, and someone comes to you and says, where's the baby that is the king that's going to replace you? He gets a little alarmed. He gets a little upset. And so he goes to the priests, the religious people, to ask them if they have a clue what these wise men are talking about. And the religious people who weren't looking, remember, they weren't looking for the Messiah at this time. They were staying safe. They were in their temple playing it cool. They were staying comfortable. They were so preoccupied with filling their heads with knowledge. They were just constantly filling. They had the entire Old Testament memorized word for word, many of them. I mean, these were some really smart people, but they didn't allow their knowledge to impact their behavior. They didn't allow the knowledge to change the way that they were living, and so they stayed warm. They stayed fed. They stayed comfortable, safe in their place of worship in Jerusalem. They stayed comfortable and safe and warm in their place of worship in Jerusalem, but they never got to worship. They were there, but it says the priests, they knew the answer when Herod came to them. And in verse 5 it says, they answered that the Messiah, the one that the Magi were looking for, he was supposed to be born in Bethlehem and Judea, just as the prophets wrote. I mean, again, they had it right on the tip of their tongue. They knew where the Messiah was supposed to be born. They were so smart. But they did nothing with their knowledge. So we have one group over here that were eager to find Jesus, but they didn't have all the knowledge. They were looking in the wrong places. They made some mistakes. And then you have the priests on the other side that had all the knowledge. But they haven't allowed the knowledge to influence their behavior. They aren't looking. They're staying comfortable. They become fat and lazy with their knowledge. Can I ask you a personal question? Which one are you? Which one are you? And I know that neither one of these categories fits us perfectly, but probably on the spectrum somewhere, where would you fit? Because really neither one at the ends is great. But where are you at? Are you eager to find God? You maybe just don't have all the knowledge that you need. You don't always know where to look. You sometimes go searching for God in some crazy place, and while you're searching, you stumble onto some website that maybe takes you off track for a little while, but you keep searching. You keep looking for truth until you finally find it. Or are you like the priests? Have you been in so many Bible studies? Maybe you're even labeled a leader, but you aren't doing anything anymore. Sure, you're having your daily devotions, you're maybe even doing a Bible study, but you stopped. You stopped pursuing God, looking for God, letting God change you. Your knowledge isn't impacting the way that you pursue God anymore. It hasn't changed you to the core of what you believe and how you live. Maybe you feel that God has disappointed you in some way. I hear it all the time. I heard it today even where someone was just like, I'm hurt. And then they attach it to God. So I don't want to be pursuing and looking for God anymore because of what I feel he's done. And so I stay safe, and I'd rather be comfortable. Again, most of us don't fit either one of these categories. But if I had to choose one, I think I've kind of told you which side I would rather be on. I'd rather be like the Magi. I'd rather be like the wise men who are actively looking, actively pursuing God. And maybe, again, I've stumbled onto something wrong at first, but at least as I'm the Magi, if I keep on pursuing, if you keep on running after God, at some point as you're pursuing him without giving up, at some point when you read the story, they wanted to worship, and they got to worship the King. It says in verse 9 that the Magi, they left Herod and continued to follow the star until it finally stopped over the place where the child, where God who became flesh, where the hope of the world was at. And in verse 10 it says, and when they saw the star, just when they saw the star, just when they had a glimmer of hope, we might get to see the King. Some of us are like, I'm not gonna get excited until I actually see it, touch it, feel it. And they're just getting close. They're just inching closer and closer to God. And it says, when they saw the star, they were overjoyed. And that word, when I read it in my calm, normal self, they were overjoyed. But the word actually says that they were celebrating crazy. That it was almost, it is actually the same word when it's talking about the angels declaring the goodness of God in a powerful way when they're singing this song. This is what these wise men are doing. They are so overjoyed. And on coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary. And they bowed down. And they got to worship him. And it says that part of their worship, they opened up their treasures and they presented to him with the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They had been wrong before. They had put their hope in earthly kings, and they had realized that they were wrong, but they didn't stop there. They kept on searching until they finally got it right. And when they found what they had been looking for, they were able to finally do what they had started out in the first place to do. They got to worship the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. They got to worship face to face the one that they knew would give them hope. Compare it what the wise men got. They got to worship God and give to him generously. Compare that to what the priests got to do. The religious leaders. Those who knew where Jesus was born. Those who had so much knowledge but never got it. And Mark, again, this is one book over, Matthew, Mark chapter 11. We're going to see what the priests were doing. It says in Mark chapter 11, verse 27, it says, they, Jesus and his disciples, arrived again in Jerusalem. This is 30 years later. 30-some years later. It says, they arrived in Jerusalem, and while Jesus was walking in the temple courts, the chief priests, the teachers of the law, the elders, again, we're talking about the smartest people that there was known back then. They knew everything there was about the Bible. If they were having a Bible quiz challenge, they would get right every time. These are the smart guys, but they're still in Jerusalem. They're still in the same place they were at 30 years ago. Nothing's changed. And they asked Jesus, they say, by what authority are you doing these things? Jesus had been doing miracles. He had been proving to them that he was the Messiah, that he was the one that came to give the world hope. And it says, and who gives you this authority to do this anyways? So again, we have the Magi, good people. They have this heart to search after God and allow it to impact their actions and the way that they live. They'll travel far. That they will go to the ends and they will give everything that they have away to be able to worship. And then we have the priests who didn't have to go far, didn't give anything. They're comfortable, got a lot of knowledge. They're safe, and they're still in Jerusalem, smarter than ever. And yet they still aren't able to worship God. Again, I want to be like the Magi. Sure, they don't do it right all the time, but But I want to keep searching until I find Jesus. Everything else off the stage can be stripped away. It doesn't matter if I'm up here, if Dana's up here, if anyone's up here. It can be all taken away. I don't need anything else. If we're going to get this right, simply Christmas, simply about Christ, just give me Jesus. And I'll be honest with you, please. I hate being honest with you. I remember one Christmas when Trish took those words that I said seriously and didn't give me anything for Christmas. And again, I'm being honest. I think I've grown up a lot because I think I could really say that this year. Just give me Jesus. Back then, so I get where you're at. Back then, I was not nice to her. Like, what? There's nothing? You just need Jesus. It's easy to say. It's really hard to do. Just give me Jesus. I want to be like the Magi. I want to keep searching and searching. And I may get it wrong at times, but I'm going to keep searching and searching. Even in the midst of maybe the clutter of everything else that is going on in the busyness of Christmas, I can see through that because I can see Jesus. I can make it about Jesus. I don't want to be a priest or the Pharisees and the religious leaders who think that they've arrived and have all this knowledge and have become fat and lazy and can't see that they've never found Jesus because of the knowledge that has blinded them. Some of you have so much knowledge about Christmas. When you hear the Christmas story is simply that. It's just a story that you can recite over in your head over and over again to the point where you never let it impact your heart and it's never impacted your life, where you are living, celebrating, and worshiping Jesus. Because what happened after the Magi experienced this encounter with God, because they kept on pushing everything aside and pursued Him face to face, when they got there, they worshiped and they gave generously back to God. But after they did that, they wanted to leave and go and tell everyone. In fact, the one that they wanted to go and tell was Herod, the one that was going to kill them. Thankfully, the angels came and said, okay, go a different way. You go home a different way. But they had to give it away, this great story of what they had experienced, because they couldn't keep the worship just to themselves. I want to be a Magi. I want to continue to pursue God this Christmas season. I want to make it simply about Christ. And when we encounter Him face to face, like the Magi have, I pray that we can worship, that we can celebrate simply Jesus, and that we can give generously. And the most generous thing that you can give away is to simply give Jesus to the world that He loves so much. We're going to stand and sing a closing song, and really like we always do here at Hope. But I want to just encourage all of you. Maybe some of you have heard the story over and over, and you need to be reminded it's simply about Jesus. And if that's you, I want you to lay aside all the knowledge that you have so that you can encounter and experience God. That you'd be able to worship Him face to face today. And this last song, it's a great song for you to sing about Jesus. Maybe some of you have never, you're continuing to pursue and push things, and you've never gotten to that point where you know who Jesus is. You've never seen Him for the very first time. And if that's you, I want to say, I'll be over here, and I would love to tell you more about simply Jesus and how He can be Lord of your life and how you can worship Him like the Magi did. For everyone else, we have our connection cards, and you can pull those out, and you can just say that you're not going to allow your knowledge. This is what we ask everyone to do, that you're not going to allow your knowledge, the things that you maybe think this is about Jesus, to prevent you from celebrating Him this year. That you'll continue to pursue Him, be like the Magi. And that you'll celebrate this Christmas, this year, by worshiping Jesus, and that you'll tell others. I hope all of you guys can check that. What you can can do is you can check it, and as you exit today, you can hand that off to one of our deacons as you're leaving. But let's all stand and sing. If you need prayer for anything or you want to know more about Jesus, please talk to one of the elders or myself.